Well, welcome everyone to the Home to Haven podcast, episode number 10. We're in two digits now. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for tuning in. However, wherever you are listening, whenever you are listening in the morning, evening, doesn't matter. Stitcher podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever, however, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my hearts. We appreciate you tuning in today. My name is Terrell.
And I'm Jen, and we are here to provide inspiration, education, and resources to help you move away from tension, strife, and chaos that is in your home towards a peaceful, loving, joyful home or a haven, a sanctuary where relationships are really nurtured and intentional. And so today we're going to continue on our topic of communication.
Yeah. Before we do that, make sure that you are tuning in and liking and subscribing to the podcast. So if you're on Apple, hit that subscribe button. If you're on Spotify, hit subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. It helps the videos. It helps the podcast rank higher. So when people search, we come up. So thank you for doing that. Help us out in that regard. You don't have to pay for anything. Just help us like and subscribe. That'd be awesome.
That's right. And send us those comments. We love hearing what you want to hear us talk about, what you want to learn more about, or just discuss from a biblical view, those topics that you need to hear about to help you turn your home into a haven. That's what we're here to help you do.
That's why we're here. So please do that. We love hearing emails. We love reading direct messages. And that's why we exist. We're here for you. So please drop those topics, drop questions in, and we'll definitely make sure that we hit those up.
That's right. So one important thing all havens, good homes should have is communication,
100%.
Good communication. So we talked in our last episode a little bit about communication styles, how to recognize what your style is, your partner's style, or whoever you're communicating with, and how to really change that communication that may be ineffective right now into effective, good communication.
And pause that because it just hit me. You know, if there is bad communication in a relationship right now, it can be fixed.
That's right.
If there is communication or there's no communication, that's why we're here. To maybe you're not able to open up, or your kids aren't as forthcoming, or there just seems to be, drama, arguments. We believe wholeheartedly that the Word of God will turn that around. So no matter what it looks like right now and today, good communication, healthy communication, strong, loving communication is possible.
That's right. You can get that transformation. And so today we're going to really talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about communication with your partner.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. So we are going to start with, should communication change as you move through your relationship from dating to married life? Should it change? And what does good communication look like with your partner, somebody that you're in a deep relationship with?
We spoke about this. I don't remember the episode, but it was about new beginnings in relationships. I think it's episode 6 or 7. So listen to that. But I mentioned how things don't go wrong; they start wrong. So if you are in a dating relationship, it's important to take good notes on how communication is going, because that's how it's going to be. And so, does communication change? I wouldn't necessarily say it changes. I believe it should grow. And so there should be a more deeper and a depth of communication 8 years into our marriage, versus when we first started dating. And so, dating, you're really probably going to be more discovery communication, more, I would say, testing communication.
Questioning,
and really, really getting a feel for who this person is, and do you see them in your future? Is this long term? That's what you should be discovering, and either making steps forward or stopping and saying, thank you, next.
Right. Don't waste that time of dating just to have fun and keep it
Date
surface
with
level,
intent.
Keep it nice and easy, and not cause any waves or ripples, or just, let it be fun. Dating is meant to have the purpose to lead you towards, am I going to marry this person or not?
Dating is, I'm finding my mate.
Right. And so communication is key. Asking all those questions is essential.
which we have 30 questions for you. So that's on our website, oakhavencompany.com. Yes, I'm going to plug it in because it's 30 questions, kind of get you started. And then there'll be 150 questions help you know your spouse or know who your person is within 6 months.
Right.
So oakhavencompany.com, look for those and download that resource. It'll be a great help.
Those are some great starter questions. They're also great questions to use even if you're already in a relationship, you've been in a relationship for a while.
Sure.
Rediscovering those things, or like, oh yeah, I remember that about you. Or, do you still have the same view that you did when you were dating now that it's 10 years later? Do you still have that same viewpoint?
Right. So again, communication should grow. It doesn't necessarily change, maybe, but you're always evolving. You're always adding more to it. You're always perfecting your style of communication. You're always learning more. What can I do better? What do I need to do more of? What do I need to do less of? Asking those questions, that's communication, so that you can be a more effective communicator. So you're growing, you're maturing in your communication. I wouldn't necessarily say changing how you communicate.
Right. We talked about different communication styles, whether it be passive, aggressive, or assertive, and really learning your partner's type of communication. Now, should you try to get your spouse or your dating partner to change the way they communicate, or should you cater to how they need you to communicate?
Well, hopefully you discussed that when you were dating.
Yes,
right.
We're at that point.
You want to
dating,
find that out, because if you've got a person whose style, again, you've got to. What do you gel with? I don't do very well with dominating personalities.
Right.
I don't do well with assertive communicators. I can deal with assertive communicators, but if that's your MO 24/7, and I'm going to be in a romantic relationship with you, we're not going to make it. Right? I don't care how pretty you are, or not going to work.
Right.
So if that's a deal breaker for you, cut it off. But I can't make you, as a assertive personality, be a passive personality unless you choose that. Unless you say, hey, I'm willing to put forth the effort. I recognize this is about you. Again, communication, we talked about this. It requires a sender and a receiver. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to communicate and be in a relationship, we've got to talk about this and say, well, I need this. Are you willing to give this to me if we're going to work? If that person, again, test them. They are who they are, who they are. A chicken is a chicken. A chicken is a chicken. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Rooster, rooster, crow, crow. So people don't change. They are who they are, who they are.
That's right. Now, let's say you're in the dating stage or you're getting to know somebody.
Okay.
And we tend to think, I found my person. Like, this is my soulmate, or this is the person that I know I'm meant to be with. And they get me. They understand me.
Okay.
Should you expect them? They should know what I'm thinking. They should know what I'm trying to say. They know me. They're my person.
I just don't even understand that logic.
People shouldn't have to guess at what you're thinking.
At all. Ever. Because every time you should know what I was thinking, I did not know what you were thinking. Right? So, no, we should not have to guess, or, sometimes women like to speak in circles and men are direct. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how I believe God designed us, and we have different methods of communication. Women, it's been proven, speak more words per day, not you, than men. All right? And so I will tell you, you hear me say, be direct.
Right.
Get to the point. I will tell you, I need it to be specific. I have no idea what you're talking about. I didn't hear any of that. I may think,
well, you should know that. We've gone through this before. Like, why don't you know that? You should already know it.
Go to the store and get my pretzels. What? It needs to say Keebler pretzels with the red box.
Very specific.
Very, very specific. That's what I need.
So I've learned that through our marriage, that you need specific, detailed, text out examples of my communication, and never take that for granted. I mean,
eggs. Go to the store and get me some eggs. What eggs?
What kind? How many? Where are they at?
Yeah. What kind of eggs? What style of eggs? What color eggs? How many eggs do you need? Liquid eggs, plastic eggs, right? So for me, I need specific, detailed, oriented instructions because no, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know how you feel. You should know how I feel. Not a clue. That's why I'm asking,
Right.
right? So those things, let's not. It's so important. Hopefully, you can start from scratch. Like for instance, if I ask you how are you feeling, you should know how I feel. No, I'm asking you. So don't respond to me with you should know. Answer my question. I'm asking you how are you doing today, or I'm asking you how did this make you feel, or I'm asking you about this. So respond to the question because I genuinely care. Again, you want to build your relationships on trust, and that requires being transparent. It requires being authentic. It requires you being open. It requires you being honest. And hopefully you meet that when you see that coming from me so that you know my heart, you know my intent. My intent is not to hurt you.
Right.
My intent is not to harm you. I'm genuinely here trying to, in all you're getting, get understanding of Proverbs 4:7.
And sometimes you need to hear that. Like I needed to hear that from you at a certain point in the beginning of our marriage where we were struggling a little bit in the communication. And it was so helpful to me when you set that intention of we are on the same team. I'm working for you. I'm not working against you. Anything that you may hear me communicate to you is not from negativity, is not from a place to put you down, is
Right.
not from a place to disrespect you or cast you aside. So sometimes you need to say that how you're meaning it to come across and just set that ground base level foundation.
And I would put this on men as leads in our homes, as godly examples in our home, to take the initiative, to lay those foundations, lay those guidelines with your spouse, with your children, that hey, this is how we're going to communicate. And I'm here. I'm here as the dad. I'm here as the husband. I'm for you. I'm with you. God communicates to us. He tells us He is for us. He
Right.
tells us He is on our side. He tells you, if I be for you, nothing can be against you.
Right.
So He's communicating to us His intent, His thoughts for us, so that we can trust Him.
That's
and
right.
so that's how, as a gentle man, I would encourage you to communicate and lay those foundations and lay those guidelines in your house, to that your family can trust in you.
That's right. Now, another main saying that we hear all the time is it's not what you say, but how you say it.
Right.
Now, do you feel that's right? It's not what you say, but how you say
It's
it.
not what you say, it's how you say it. I do not agree with that. Or it's your tone.
Right. It's your
Right.
tone, it's how you're saying it.
And yeah, okay, I get that. But absolutely, it's what you say. Proverbs 17, smart people choose their words carefully.
Words are powerful.
Words are powerful. Words hurt. Words can tear down. Words can build up.
Mm-hmm.
Words can destroy relationships. Words can destroy trust in a second. And it's hard to come back from that. So it's important that you take time to think and pray and get the wisdom of God, get the leading of the Holy Spirit, right? Of what you are to say to this person in this moment, and not just immediately react. How many times have relationships been broken because we said the wrong thing? I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. It came from a place. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. That's scripture. So that came from somewhere. I'm just kidding. No, that's somewhere in your heart. And I will get to see the real you. Because sometimes when you're angry or when you're hurt, you say stuff. You didn't mean it, but it came from somewhere. Or you're saying something to get back at someone. So I'm going to get them back and I'm going to say something, to dig the knife in. Be careful, because that could be a wound that doesn't easily heal. Words do hurt. Absolutely.
Right. You need to take ownership of the words that do come out of your mouth and the words that you are expressing.
Yeah.
Don't just turn it back on the other person.
Yeah.
Take ownership of how you, or the actual words you said and how you meant to say them.
Yeah.
Really communicate and explain to them if there is that, boundary that's it's not getting through to the other person. You just got to use those words to explain even more so what your intentions behind your words are.
So harsh words maim and disfigure. So it's important that when there is some things in communication or in a conversation, you don't want to use you language.
Okay.
You want to use I language.
Okay.
So when this happened, I felt this way, or I heard this. Is that correct? You said that, I thought I heard you wanted eggs from the store. Was that correct? It's a completely different thing than you told me to get eggs, right? It's kind of condemning and putting down, and it could put up walls. And gentlemen, we really have to watch and be careful of our words. And yes, how we say things, but it is also what you say. So I want to take great care over my daughter, and great care even over my son, great care over my wife, because you are, the scripture says, weaker vessel, not you can't lift cans, not that you're under me, but that I have to be very, very cautious in managing my words with you. And so I want to make sure that I'm not blaming you or saying things that could hurt you, and be very fragile with your emotions.
Right.
That could play into other areas of our relationship. Communication, of course, intimacy, trust. All those things are layers that play a part into this wonderful, beautiful creature called Jen. And so I can't just come off and always say you and you and you and you. Take ownership and use I language, and I think that'll really, really help facilitate more healthy communication.
Right. And we talked about dating relationships moving towards a marriage relationship. Now, the marriage relationship should be the strongest relationship that you have underneath yourself and God.
Yeah.
Now, is there something special about the communication between a married couple? Is there something specific that should be exclusive to communication within a marriage?
I don't know. Again, there should already be a foundation that leads into marriage. And so I don't know of anything that we've talked about as a married couple that we didn't talk about before when we were dating.
Okay.
Nothing has been a surprise, because we talked about everything, and we had hundreds and I think 200 questions answered through our dating process. That makes marriage not easy, but it definitely makes it enjoyable, and there are no surprises. I don't have to guess because I know what I got, because we asked questions and we talked about everything. So I would encourage you that, again, if you are dating, ask everything under the sun. There is no question that you should not be asking in a dating relationship. So
moving into marriage, just for our specific example,
okay,
from dating into marriage, nothing was like, oh, wow, that really surprised me.
No.
Now that we're married, it's different than we were dating.
Nope.
So communication can remain the same, being open, honest, full of questions. Is there
we ask questions now.
Right, I was going to say.
We talk about everything now. We're constantly asking other questions. We go on date night. We're asking questions. We were out of town last month, and we were asking questions. Constantly trying to get to know one another, constantly checking in, constantly seeing where each other are engaging. So, again, it's more mature. It's deeper than it was 8 years ago, but it's the same.
We never get to a point where we really have nothing to say to each other anymore.
No.
We're not like sitting there staring at each other while we're out on date night during dinner.
Thank God, because that would be awkward and weird. And again, not saying that we're perfect, but one of the things that we talked about, and it was kind of those things where, again, I saw you, we had this conversation before I met you. So this was one of the things that was like, okay, she has potential like this. Okay, like, I need to pay attention. Let me sit up straight. And that was in my heart of hearts. And I believe this, and I want to speak this over you. People say marriage is hard. I'm not down for that. Not for me. Because if it's hard, I don't want it. And not that I'm afraid of a challenge, and not that is it easy. No, but it's not this hard,
strenuous, challenging.
Oh my
day
God,
in, day
climbing
out
up
grind.
a mountain, and I gotta you can keep that. Because I'm having a blast playing my PlayStation, going to work, going out to eat. I'm
When
fine.
you were single.
When I was single,
Right.
right? Sorry,
Not
let me
now.
preface that, when I was single, I was happy. I was fine. So if I'm going to do this, I want God. If you're going to do this to me, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and gets favor. The blessing of the Lord makes rich and gives no sorrow. That's my promise. Okay, I'll take that. I don't want this other stuff. Mm-mm. So when I communicated that to you and you were like, absolutely, okay, all right. So have we had difficult times? Yes. Have we been tested? Absolutely. Like every other person, every other Christian in this world, you have tribulation, but you have overcome the world. And so I love coming home. I love being a husband. I love being a father. It is sweatless, not easy, sweatless. Because I have someone who's on the same page as me, believes the same way, serves the same way, lives and loves God the same way. And so it flows.
And would you attribute our communication while we were dating? I mean, we didn't date for that long.
Well,
But
to
would,
me, it's a long time.
okay,
It's
okay.
6 months.
Okay. Would you attribute our communication as the best possible way to know that the marriage is going to be great, is going to be sweatless, like you said? Is that how you knew that the marriage was going to be great? Because
I had to trust,
the
right?
dating stage was full of communication. We went through
Everything.
everything under the sun.
And I said, this is me. And you were the first person that I could literally be myself with. I wasn't judged. I wasn't put down. You didn't know me from church or anything. You just knew this dude you met. And so this is me. I'm the guy who brings flowers. I'm the guy who always thinks, I'm the guy who goes to the store and I'll bring you stuff home. You didn't ask me. That's me. That's who I am. I'm not putting on a front so I don't have to
Right.
change. It won't be hard for me. I'm not trying to impress you. This is me. I like to go to nice restaurants. That's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Am I the same?
You are the same.
So you were you. This is me. Nothing about you has changed. You have matured. You've grown in areas. You've stretched yourself. You
Right.
have stepped out of your comfort zone
Right.
in many areas, as I have as well. So we've grown in certain areas, but for 99% of the stuff, we are who we are. And that's why I believe, because I saw who you were and I liked it. And it matched with what I needed and what I wanted.
Right. And circumstances have changed, will
Sure.
change. But for me, I knew going into marriage
Okay.
that the things that we had discussed were so foundational to what I knew I wanted and needed in a marriage
Right.
that the other outside factors could never interrupt that.
That's good.
Like I knew that the communication that we had while we were dating,
Right.
discussing spiritual stuff.
What do you believe?
You
Why
know-
do you believe this? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about finances? How do you feel about joint accounts? How do you feel about phones? And we'll get into that. How do you feel about, checking my emails? How do you feel about me checking your emails? How do you feel about children? How many children do you want? When do you want to have kids? What are their names going to be? Every
Right.
single thing. Pat, how many people have you been with? Who have you dated?
Right.
What's your sexual history like? What are your family like? You have a mom, you have a dad. How long have they been married? Have they ever had issues? Your brother, what's he like? What's he do? How's he been? Everything.
And communication between me and you. I wasn't letting outside people talk to me about it.
Yeah.
It was communication between you and
Yeah.
me, somebody that I was considering
Sure.
to be my husband. And
Yeah.
I knew that what you had told me.
I would just take it for whatever you want to take it. My advice as a counselor, as a pastor to you, I would do it a little bit different. No one knew about you until 2 weeks before I was about to propose.
Right.
And I probably would do it a little bit different, but I was so protective. I mean, I'm like, Solomon, I have found the one with whom my soul loves. And I was like, I am not about to mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was covering you every day in prayer, covering us every day in prayer. I am not letting anything pollute this. And so it wasn't I had a little bit of fear. And so I wouldn't respond that way out of fear, but I really wanted to be protective that I didn't want anybody not changing my mind, but speaking out of place about something that God was doing. So I
Right.
think it's very, very
Right.
critical. Let God do the work. Let Him, because you can have that, again, that noise, that
Hmm.
third party noise that can take you
It
away
can sway
and
you.
sway you from a God thing. Because a lot of times faith doesn't make sense. And for the natural, you didn't make sense for me. You are the complete opposite of everything that I had dated or been with, or on the outside, what looks good for me. And you're exactly what I needed.
And you found that by communicating with me.
So I want to give us really quickly as we went over time, but we need to get into five things to help a successful marriage in your communication. You touched on one already, but I'll go to the first one is you want to listen actively. We've already done this, but here's the official 5 steps.
That's right.
You can find this in our communication guide by downloading it on our website by signing up for our e-newsletter. So you want to listen actively. Make sure you're fully engaged in conversation. So, gentlemen, that means that I'm not watching the game while my wife is trying to talk to me. And if she does ask, can we talk? Ladies, also be kind of mindful that if it's, 30 seconds left and his team is down by 3,
Right.
you probably don't want to talk about the budget. At
Right.
that point, like let him
Assess the
have
situation.
assess the situation, right? Give him a minute to breathe when he comes home. Like, don't just bombard him with, the kids and, they need some field trip money. Let him get in, let him breathe, let him decompress. Same as her. Okay, I'm not just saying the guys,
Right. Right.
let the woman come in, let her decompress. Don't just give her the chores. Let her have her moment to get herself together. And then, like, hey, babe, are you ready to talk, right? So it works both ways. I'm not just picking on women, please. I'm not just picking on the men and women. It goes both ways. So be active in your listening.
Right. And giving that person the space and time, your full attention. Your husband should be your top priority
Yeah.
underneath your time with God. And so not letting the kids, the house, your job, whatever else, your family, anything that needs you. Because as women, a lot of people need you.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to respect that there should be time and space specifically just for you and your husband to communicate well. I've noticed like just giving you that direct eye contact and attention, even if the kids are saying, mommy, 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 making sure that you know that I'm paying attention to you, listening to you, and I'm actively engaged.
Yeah. Number 2 is you want to be clear and direct. Again, you want to avoid the passive aggressive style of communication and be clear. Don't assume they know how you feel. Don't assume they got the message. Be clear, be specific, be direct, be kind, but make sure that you say what you mean and then you mean what you say.
And you're honest with how you're feeling
Right.
and what you need to get across.
Well, I don't want to hurt them. You can't help. Well, again, you're going to pray about it. And there's been times where I had to say something to you, and when we first were talking, I would say something, and the message you heard was, he's not happy with me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, Jen, I don't like the way these mashed potatoes were made. They have no seasoning, or she didn't put any salt on the chicken. And she heard,
I'm disappointed.
I'm
I don't
disappointed.
like you as a wife.
Right. And I never said, it never came out of my mouth. She's crying. I'm like, what is going on? Right. I didn't say. And she's like, I'm a bad wife. I never said that. And so if you've had those things, I don't respond like, what's wrong with you? I didn't say, I'm saying, how did you hear that?
Right.
Again, when God came to the Garden of Eden, he asked Adam, who told you that? Who told? So number 4, you want to practice empathy. So it's important that you see things from your partner's point of view. So step over into their shoes and really begin to hear and see where they're coming from, what they're feeling, why they're feeling that way. So that helps you really understand. I did this with my father, of really understanding. People criticize what they don't understand. One of the most powerful quotes I ever heard was, people criticize what they don't understand. So try to come from their point of the desk so you can understand why they respond that way. As you understanding me as a provider,
Right.
why I think a certain way, why I may sometimes feel pressure or stress because I'm the one, the breadwinner. So it helps you understand that.
Right.
So
If you're not understanding that right away, just ask them more questions.
Yeah.
Get them to communicate a little bit more so you can understand and put yourself in their position. You're not ever going to fully know. Putting yourself, I would never fully know what it would be like to be a husband or a leader, but you can communicate some things back to me and let me
Sure.
know. And then I can use the empathy towards that and really understand your feelings.
and work on not being defensive when questions are asked. Sometimes I don't like questions, so I've had to, allow the Holy Spirit to correct me, right? And so again, when she's asking me questions, she genuinely wants to know. She's not questioning my authority or being passive aggressive. Learning her now, she's genuinely asking, "Why did you make this decision, or why did you do it this way?" Because she wants to learn more about me and get into my thought process because she's trying to be empathetic.
Right.
And then finally, set aside time to talk. That's very, very important. So schedule it, right? Kids go to bed at 7:30. We've got in our calendar days scheduled for planning out our podcast. We have time set aside for just date and fun night. We've got time set aside for, I don't like it, but planning. And so Jen has time on the calendar where she's going through, and we'll get to this in a episode of planning out the activities for the family. We go through every single week. Jaden's got this. Ali's got this. You've got this. We got this, that, and the other. Well, who's going to pick them up? We go through every single detail because it's important and it facilitates communication. Everyone's on the same page. So schedule those times of talking and daily check-ins.
You have to be intentional about that. It's easy to just kind of go your separate ways, especially if you're doing your work, I'm doing my work, and we're just working alongside each other. It's important to set those intentional times of we are going to communicate what needs to be communicated to make our family and our household run at the best possible.
And I would encourage face-to-face communication as well. I know we text, and that's fine. We text throughout the day, Jennifer and I, but also come together as a couple.
Look each other in the
Look each other's eyes. Come together as a family. One of the things that I wanted, I didn't have this growing up. I was the only child. My dad would always be counseling someone or out. I didn't have the time to sit down with my family and have dinner every night. We came together on Sundays.
Okay.
And then as I got older, my dad was in his office. I was in my room. My mom was downstairs, right? So I wanted that in my house. And so we moved our table. We got a nice oak table, Oak Haven, and we come together as a family. I wanted my family to come together every single night, and we talk. Sometimes we watch some shows, and then sometimes there's no iPads, there's no phones, there's no TV. The four of us talk, and we just
Right.
communicate as a family.
That's some of the best times that you can communicate with your kids. I know we're just talking about spouses and dating relationships. We'll get into this in a couple episodes a little bit deeper, but setting that time, you can look each other in the eyes, see each other without screens. Even if we do watch a show, we can still communicate to each other
Sure.
about what's happening, or would you have done that, or
Yeah.
what do you think will happen
Yeah.
next? And it's just giving that time and space to let everybody in the family or whoever you're living with in your house to share their point of view
Yeah.
or share their opinions or what happened in their day.
Yeah.
It's really, really important.
Yep. I'm asking, how was your day? What are you doing today? I don't accept one-word answers. Good, not good enough. Let's go into some detail, right? And so I just encourage you, and stay with it. Don't get discouraged, but stay with it, and you'll see the fruit of your labor. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Home to Haven podcast. I pray that you got something out of this and that you were blessed by some of the content. If that was you and you were blessed, hit a like and subscribe. Help us find more people like yourself who we benefit from this content. And then send us an email or a DM at Oak Haven Company or hi@oakhavencompany.com. Let us know any topics, any questions, anything you want us to go into. We'd love to help you. We'd love to do our best to point you from God's Word about your communication, your relationships, your homes, anything along those topics, I mean, we're here for you.
That's right. And be sure to download the free workbook.
That's right.
So we have our workbook free for this month while we're discussing communication. It's a great resource. It does follow along this series of podcasts, but it is a great resource even as a standalone to kind of work through, think through your specific situation and your experiences. You can write it out, you can journal it out, you can go through the questions again and just really dive deeper into what we discussed on the podcast. So be sure to check that out. That's on our website. You can also grab it through Instagram. Check us out at Oak Haven Company, and you can find the link in there as well. We also have our other workbooks about purpose and new beginnings that you can find on our website as well for purchase. They are great resources, so grab those.
Yeah, you'll be glad you did. It will not be a waste. It's also an investment for you in your spiritual life, in your relationships, and it's something that I really believe. I mean, there's scriptures in there. There are devotionals that we've taken time to walk you through. And let us know if you've gotten one of those, your thoughts as well. Again, thank you so much for however you're listening. We really appreciate the support and the love, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless.